So we'll give it a few minutes. We got a few presenters still coming on, and then we'll get started. So thanks for being here, everyone.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, everyone. If you're just joining, we're waiting for a few presenters to log in. We're glad you're here. We'll get started in a few minutes, and we are recording this session. So just wanted to let everyone know that as well. So we'll send it out to your union after the fact, and they'll forward it to you. We'll have it uploaded on our YouTube channel, so you can reference it after the fact. We're just going to wait a few minutes, let all the presenters get here, and then we'll get going. Thanks for being here today. If you're just joining us, good afternoon. We're just waiting a minute. I'm waiting on our last presenter who I don't have logged in yet, but we appreciate you being here and we'll get started in a few minutes. There they are. Aaron, hello. All right. It looks like our last presenter just jumped on. Aaron Coleman, just want to confirm that's you.
Yeah, it's me. Sorry, I was late. My Zoom wasn't connecting right. I'm good
You
now.
no, you're good. I just want to
Thank
make
you.
sure. It said Aaron C, so I was like, I better
Yeah,
confirm it.
that's me, Coleman. Yes.
Perfect. All right, without further ado, we will get started. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Teal Dunbar, she, her pronouns. I work for Labor's Community Service Agency, and our agency handles supporting union workers through layoffs is one of our main roles. So that's why we're here today. We're really sorry to hear that you're being reduced and that your jobs are being laid off. I know a lot of you already had the impact happen about a week ago. So we want to make sure we get this information to you in a timely fashion. So a few housekeeping notes. We ask that you stay muted unless you're engaging in a question, just because we are recording this session and we want to keep it as free of background noise as possible so that the recording is a good one. We'll send it to the union rep afterwards. They'll forward it out to y'all. You can reference it after the fact. We also ask that you feel free at any time to ask a question. You don't need to wait. Session is for y'all. So you can use the little icon in your Zoom to raise your hand. You can use the chat feature. The chat feature is great. We'll be dropping some documents into it. Actually, we've already started. So there's documents in there for y'all to grab out at any point, before we close the session today. That's a great way to ask questions as well. And then as soon as we come to a moment where we pause in the presentation, we'll queue up the question. You can also, like I said, come off mute and just ask at the appropriate time as well. You can use the hand raise. So however you're most comfortable. The presenters will be on till the end. So if you think of something after the fact, they will still be available at the end. We'll do a final Q&A. Yeah, I think that's all the housekeeping stuff. Presenters, just a reminder to say next slide. And without further ado, we're going to bring up Erin Coleman to talk about unemployment insurance. And Erin will also review the rules around school workers and the extra step you have to take when you do your application. And there's an extra questionnaire. We're going to go over all that in this PowerPoint. After that, we will have information presented on your local worksource office, the things you have to do to keep your self-qualified for unemployment that you do at worksource. But then beyond that, all the really cool resources available that they have. Everything is cost-free from them as well. And then we'll close out with healthcare and all the next step options available once your employer-sponsored healthcare ends. So without further ado, Erin, we're going to get you started and let's go next slide to the first unemployment slide. Jason, when you can. And yeah, without further ado, Erin, take it away.
Okay, thanks, Teal. So, yeah, again, my name is Erin Coleman. I'm a lead adjudicator here in unemployment insurance. I've been around for a while now, and I definitely know the ins and outs of making sure that we're doing everything we can to get you guys qualified for benefits and get your benefits rolled out to you
David,
as quickly
can
as
you come here and
possible.
tell me why I don't hear sound?
Oh,
Let's see. Can we mute Kathy and Joshua, please? Jason, you want to mute them while they figure out their tech stuff? Go
awesome.
ahead,
Thank
Erin.
you. Okay.
Yeah.
So, first of all, how do we qualify? The number one is that you've earned enough wages via the income from employers over the last 18 months, which is considered your base year period. You're not working to no fault of your own, like many of you in this situation where it was um, you were laid off, which when you're filing your initial claim, you're going to want to indicate you were laid off due to a lack of work. Make sure that's the option that you select if that's your situation. If the separation does occur from work other than a lack of work, that's when we come in adjudication and look and see if we make a determination on your eligibility. So if you were separated because either you quit or there was a discharge or suspension of some kind, we look at eligibility from there. And lastly, but most importantly, you must be able to work, available for full-time, part-time, or temporary work, and actively seeking work each of the weeks that you're claiming benefits. So that's really important. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. How the weekly benefit amount is calculated. The weekly benefit amount is calculated based on 1.25% of your wages you earned in your base year established at the time you file your initial claim. And that base year period is for the last 5 completed quarters. So the weekly benefit amount is determined from the wages you reported in the first 4 of the last 5 completed quarters. So at this point, we're looking at the quarters 2, 3, 4 of 2024 and your first quarter of 2025 as of about a week from now. Right now, it's all of what you made in 2024. If you file your claim as of July 1st, 2025, we will be looking at quarter 2, 3, 4 of 2024 and quarter 1 of 2025. So if for some reason, if you did increase your wages at all in the 2025 calendar year, I highly recommend filing your initial claim after July 1st so that we can get that benefit increase to you. We will send you a potential wage and benefit report after you file your initial claim. So if any wages are missing, like you had a second employer or something like that, make sure you're reporting all of your wages. But if for some reason those are missing from your wage report, just call us, let us know. We'll make sure to go ahead and get you assisted in getting those wages updated. The wage amount has, again, as of July 1st, that minimum amount is changing and the maximum amount is changing, which is exactly why I'm telling you if you got any kind of raise, please just wait until July 1st so that we can get you the more benefit amount because it is bumping up to $204 for the minimum weekly benefit amount and the maximum is bumping up to $872. We do have a really handy dandy calculator on our website that you can get to. The link is on here on the slideshow so you can access it at a later time when you have this slide. So you can go on to the next slide now. Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so filing for your UI benefits. There's a lot of cyber people out there that want to try to do things that are not very nice. So we wanted to include for you the website so you can see what it looks like when you're filing your initial claim, where you're going to go, as well as the link so that you can make sure that you're getting to the correct platform. Francis has been unfortunately tried to be recreated, which is the system we use. It has been tried to be recreated. So we want to make sure that you access it initially by going to the unemployment.org and .gov. And then on that blue link, I would hover my mouse over, but you won't see me do it anyway, where that arrow is pointing is going to bring you straight to the Francis online link. It's really important that you set up your Francis account as soon as possible, regardless of when you file your initial claim, because Francis is going to have you verify your identity again for security purposes. There's a couple stages of identity verification that are done, one through us and one through Francis. And Francis is going to send you snail mail to get that identity verification done. So I recommend setting up your Francis account immediately if you haven't already, even if you're not going to file your initial claim until July 1st, just so you can get the ball rolling on the Francis identity verification piece. Okay, next slide, please. And this is what the springboard looks like once you get to our employment website and you've set up an account and you have a Francis account. This is the overall look of the Francis Online again, so that you can verify this is what you're looking at. If it doesn't look like this, make sure you backtrack to that unemployment.oregon.gov, because this is what Francis Online with the springboard page looks like, with your username, login information up there at the top, and then the different places depending on what you're trying to do. You can see the estimate your benefits, viewing our UI claimant handbook, which I highly recommend reading, logging in for your iMatch skills. You'll hear about that more later. Signing up for your online account in the first place, all that kind of stuff. Also, if for some reason you're still employer attached and want to go for paid leave, the link for the paid leave is going to be on here too. So just this is the page that you're going to be wanting to look for when you're first claiming, to make sure you're in the right place. Okay, next slide. And here's a close-up look at this when you're registering again for that Francis Online. This is to set up your Francis account. This isn't to set up your UI claim. Those are two different steps. So when you're registering for your Francis Online, again, I highly recommend doing it sooner rather than later, so Francis can send you your snail mail PIN. It's like an L number or something. And it's really important that you get that, because we would have to have Francis regenerate the letter for you. It is only comes to you through snail mail, and they have some steps to get your identity verified through it. So set up that account as soon as you can, so that you don't have to delay in claiming benefits at all, because it will take a few days at least to get that letter to you. So go ahead and get started with that. The direct link for Francis is francis.oregon.gov, but you can get to the Francis website through the unemployment.oregon.gov as well. And the first thing you're going to do before you start claiming benefits is sign up for the online account, which is this link here. And it's kind of a zoom in on that overall Francis look that we just saw. Okay, next slide. So after you've set up your Francis account, you've gotten your PIN, you're good to go, you verified your identity with Francis herself. At that point, you're going to go ahead and start applying for your UI benefits. And there's two different ways that you can apply. One is online, by setting up an initial claim through, again, Francis Online. And that's what starts your claim. This is what I'm recommending if you received any kind of wage increase or extra income starting in 2025. Start filing this as of July 1st. Otherwise, if there's no changes to your pay at all in 2020, in the 2025 year, you should be good to set this up whenever you're ready to, once the separation has taken place, because this is what's going to start your claim. And then once you've started your claim, you can start claiming each week as you need, as you qualify for benefits. It's going to ask that when you set up your account, it's going to ask you to provide information overall about your income and employers for the last 2 years. So again, if you have any wages outside of this school, even self-employment, anything, whatever wages you might have, make sure you include those so that we can, again, I like giving people as much money as I possibly can each week. So include all of the wages that you've earned in order to make sure that that benefit amount is accurate based on your overall earnings for the year. And then going forward, each week, once you've set up your initial claim, it's really important that you claim a week of benefits each week that you wish to receive those benefits. Weekly claiming is for the week prior. So like right now, people are claiming for the week of June 15th through the 21st, anything that they claim this week. So once the week is over, you can start claiming for the prior week. You'll need to attest that you've been able, available, and actively seeking work. Those are all yes or no questions that you'll be asked. And then a detail of your work search will be requested. That's going to require that you report 2 job applications or some sort of employer contact. You can just have submitted your resume through Indeed or through iMatch, anything like that. But direct employer contacts with an employer you believe might hire you. And then 3 other work seeking activities, such as doing something with the WorkSource office, updating your resume, contacting your references, writing a cover letter, anything that will help get you back to work as early as possible. All of those count as work seeking activities. Anytime you're in touch with the WorkSource office doing one of their events, that does count. So please make sure you include those because we definitely love to see that. But yeah, so you need to make sure that 2 of them are direct employer contacts. I'll talk about this a lot throughout this presentation, but 3 of them can be just work seeking activities. So just know that. And you're going to, again, I always recommend to everybody to start trying to file for the prior week on Sunday. I say get your morning coffee, get your work searches ready, log in on Sunday morning and start trying to claim for the prior week. That way, if there's any kind of issue, whether it be your internet goes down or Francis decides to Francis and goes down, whatever, if something happens, you have that entire week to claim because once that Saturday 11:59 mark rolls around, Francis won't let you claim for that prior week any longer, and we can't accept late reports. So we want to make sure that you've claimed for the week prior right away. So, and plus the other additive to that is the sooner you claim, the sooner you get paid. So the sooner you get your claim in, the sooner the benefits get rolled out to you. So if you claim on Sunday or Monday, benefits are usually paid on that by that Wednesday. Also, that way, if you do need to get a hold of us because you're having an issue with claiming, you have time to get a hold of us, one of our representatives, in order to get that claim processed for you. Okay, next slide. So every single week, you're going to go back to that francis.oregon.gov. Again, preferably I recommend doing it on Sunday, but whenever works for your schedule, going to that same website and accessing the log on to Francis online. And from there, it'll bring you to the place where you're going to put in your email address or your username and password. And then from there, it'll bring you to the platform in order to go ahead and claim. If you don't want to claim that way, you can always call our customer service line. You can call our customer service representatives. They are pretty slammed with calls right now, so the hold times can be long, but we also have an automated claim line. So if you call us this number, it will give you the option, I think, to like press 1 or whatever, and it will take you to where you can file your weekly claim. It'll ask you the questions. You press 1 for yes, 2 for no, and it will ask you the same questions that you would answer online. And then it will give you the chance to do a voice recording of your work searches and your work seeking activities at the very end of that. And Charlotte, you have your hand up?
Yeah, hi. Thank you
Hi.
guys for being here and doing this. That's great.
Sure.
One of my members has a question about the phone line. Is
Okay.
it typical to be on hold for over 3 hours?
Yes.
Okay.
Unfortunately, our hold times are extremely long. I always tell people if you're going to call, if you do need to reach us by phone, the best time to reach us by phone, I always recommend people start trying to call on Tuesday or Thursday and call in the morning because Monday is the day when, again, if something was wrong with Francis online over the weekend, on Sunday when people try to claim or they missed claiming and they want to try to backdate or something, they're always calling Monday. So hold times are way more atrocious on Monday. Also, Wednesday, because it's payday, is a lot more atrocious. Friday, because they know it's the last day we're here, is a lot more atrocious. I'm sure that if she hasn't already, I'm sure that Teal is going to drop it in the chat. We always recommend instead on Francis, there's the really cool owl. It literally is a little picture of an owl. And if you click on that, you can type in live agent and it's the quick way to bypass all the AI stuff and get straight to one of us. And there's representatives that work on the chat. So rather than using the phone line, I always recommend using Owl if you have an issue and contacting us that way. If you do need to get a hold of us and also using web notice, which I'll show you that in a little bit too, because you can send us messages through through Francis Online. And if you send a message through Francis Online, it is considered to be a contact method to reach out to us in either adjudication or a claim specialist. And someone responding is more likely to respond to that in a timely manner.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Hey,
Anything I can do
Erin,
to help get people paid. Yes.
I have a question in the chat. Well, I have two questions. So I'm going to do Winter's first because Winter's driving and may lose service. And Winter, feel free to unmute if you are safe to do so, if like you're parked. So Winter asks, or says, I am already signed up with Francis and have been claiming benefits during the off weeks since December. So they have a claim going. Um, when I claim a week and I am expecting to return to work within 4 weeks, why is there no longer a box to click for when you are temporarily unemployed? I am working summer school, so I won't be unemployed for more than 4 weeks.
It should, that box actually should still.
Oh, Winter,
Hi,
you're
Winter.
breaking
Thank you. I'm
up.
not actually the one that's driving.
Oh, we can kind of hear you, Winter. You want to try again?
Okay, I'm going in and out of service a little bit here. I think I'll hopefully be okay. Yeah, I heard you read my question, I think, but I didn't get an answer. And the main thing that I really was kind of desperate to get an answer for, because the same thing happened over spring break, and it was very difficult to get my like I just spent hours and hours and hours, as did everybody else in my building, trying to make their claim. There's no longer a box that you can click that says that you're going to be temporarily unemployed. Why is that? Is it Portland Public Schools that doesn't have that on there, or does it have something to do with unemployment or?
Yeah, that's a Francis thing. And the reason that that happens is because now with Francis, if you give a return to work date and it's within that window of the 4 weeks, Francis is automatically set to allow. So Winter, I would highly recommend getting in touch with through the owl, getting in touch with a live agent to see what happened there. If you gave a return to work date that was within that 4 week time frame, Francis basically automatically allows for temporary layoff, and it automatically waives the requirement of having to perform the work seeking activities that are required if you're within that window of time.
Okay, because I did do those things. I did that over spring break, and then I just did it for last week. And and you know, both times I had a return to work date within a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I did call over spring break, and I, you know, like somebody else asked about the wait time. I was on hold for about 4.5 hours, finally got through. And the lady that I talked to said that she didn't know why that happened and that it shouldn't happen, and just go ahead and answer the questions and then just give random answers for all of them, saying that I'm not required to perform work searches, which is basically what I did. But it's very time consuming.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just
No, I
like,
completely agree with you and I completely understand. And basically, my advice would be I wouldn't necessarily say that you need to even fill that in. What we would look at is if you gave us when you filed your what we call the additional claim, when you're reopening your claim that you already have, and you gave us a here's when I stopped working date, and then here's when I'm expected to return to work, and it's within that 4 weeks.
yeah.
If you don't seek work, it the delay would be an adjudicator like myself would get assigned the file, but we would go in and we would automatically see that you have a return to work date within that window, and we would discard your issue. You don't need to tell us over and over, I don't need to seek work. I don't need to seek work. We math that all the time for people, and we just clear their benefits out to them.
Okay, so if I did click the button that said, where it says, are you searching for work? And I would just say no, and then, but that wouldn't automatically make me not get benefits for that week.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
because
It wouldn't automatically deny you, not at all. It would kick over to my team in adjudication, and we would see that you selected no, that you did not seek work. And then we would look over your claim and we would see, oh, well, the reason that Winter didn't seek work is because they're expecting to return to work within a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4. And as long as you're within that window of time, we would then what we call discard the issue and make sure your benefits got paid to you right away.
okay,
And
Yeah.
Winter, use the owl chat. We can't stress that enough because you're gonna maybe be on hold for what, an hour, Aaron, but not
Yeah, at
for
least.
multiple hours like you would on the phone. And the chat is the quickest way to get, you
okay.
just type in live agent, you type in live, it's a newer feature, so people don't know about it. It's a little owl icon.
I I lost Teal.
That's gonna be the quickest way to
Oh,
reach
there you are.
somebody.
Yeah, I highly recommend just if where it says, did you actively seek work that week, just select no. The TLO box, for whatever reason, it seems like it went away with Francis. And the only thing I know is because TLO is an automated thing that Francis deals with now, it doesn't necessarily come to us, but you're not expected to seek work at all. And you won't be denied benefits because you didn't. I see Nico in the chat put
Yes.
the initially approved for benefits but denied this week. Um, because you needed to prove you were on school break. I would say that you're not denied at this point. Your benefits are on hold as we're quickly trying to get through the pile of school employee decisions that we need to write. So just keep claiming. I can't emphasize this enough. Just keep claiming benefits, and any and all weeks that have been claimed up until this point while you're on that recess period, even if you're expecting to return to work, no matter what happens, if you're eligible because you don't have what we call reasonable assurance to return to work, once that review process has happened, we will get those benefits paid out to you, other than that first week that serves as your waiting week. So just make sure you keep claiming benefits. You might have received a letter from Francis letting you know that you can't get benefits right now because your claim is under review or something like that. But it doesn't mean that you're denied benefits, and it doesn't mean you can't upload the letter. So if you have some kind of letter from the school explaining that that no, you're not going to get a contract and stuff, I highly recommend just send it in. Even if you've passed that deadline, we have a cutoff date that we want you to give it to us by. But if you don't give it to us by that date, we can still backdate and get you approved. So just make sure you send it in to us as soon as you can, as soon as you're able to. So like as soon as we're done with this meeting, go log into Francis Online and upload that attachment through the message system. You'll see how to send us a message. I'll show you that screen in Francis, but definitely send us a message with that letter attached to it, and you're going to be good to go, and we'll get those benefits paid out to you. If anything, what you received a denial for is what's known as a failure to provide, because there was a cutoff date to give the letter by. We didn't get the letter in time, so we don't know if you're eligible for benefits or not, because for some reason the school might have given us an indication that maybe you're going to return to work or something. And so if you think that maybe you're returning to work, or there's a chance you're returning to work, we need to confirm that you're not. But if you have that letter of saying that no, I do not have a contract. They told me that they're not bringing me back in the fall. Then upload it as soon as you can. I tell everybody, once you set up your initial claim, go ahead and send it through message right away in Francis, regardless of getting the questionnaires to us, because you can send it to us before the questionnaire even comes to you. But once you have that uploaded, we can get that taken care of. So Nico, just keep claiming and we'll get those benefits rolled out to you right away, and upload that proof that you're not going back to school once the break period ends. Even though you did miss the quote unquote deadline, it doesn't mean we can't take care of that and retroactively get you paid for those.
Nico, do you want to unmute and follow up on that? That was a lot of good information for you. I just want to make sure you have an opportunity. we've got a few other questions after
Hmm.
if Nico wants to come off mute. Um, so okay, Nico can't but says thank you. So
Okay,
sounds
and
like they're
Brian, I
good.
see your hand up, so I'm not sure which order of things happen. So I'm going to go by Brian and Amanda, Olga, and I'm not even going to pretend like I'm going to butcher your name. So um, Naima, I promise I'll get to all of you. I promise. I promise. Brian, what's going on?
Yeah, just further clarification with Winter's question. So basically, if you're not working over the summer and you're going to be off for more than 4 weeks, then you would click the box saying that you are searching for work. And if you're like if it's like spring break or winter break and it's like a 1 week or 2 weeks, then you wouldn't need to click that box.
Yeah, exactly. If you're off for more than 4 weeks, you do need to be actively seeking work in order to be eligible for benefits. Now, that just means you need to apply for a couple jobs, submit your resume to whoever, and so you would say yes that you were seeking work and provide your work searches if it's more than 4 weeks. But if it's less than 4 weeks, you do not need to seek work. You're not required to seek work if you're expected to return to work within a 4 week time frame.
Gotcha. Yeah, because during spring break and winter break, which was a week and 2 weeks,
Hmm.
I just went ahead and clicked the yes, I'm looking for work just so I didn't like risk it. Because I didn't realize you guys like look through them individually and like, oh, they're only off work for like a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah,
So
we will
yeah,
look at them. So next year, don't even worry about that. If you're only claiming for the 1 week because you're gonna go right back after spring break, what we really look at is that reasonable assurance and whether or not we can use your school wages, which we'll talk about later. That's what we're really looking at for those break periods. But as far as the work seeking requirement, no, not at all. You
gotcha.
don't
Okay.
need to meet that.
Just during the summer if you're off for more than whatever, 4 weeks. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Got
if you're off for more than 4 weeks in the summer, you definitely want to continue to seek work. Or if you're not expected to return at all, like if you're in this layoff position that y'all seem to be in, then at that point in time, you would need to meet those work search activity requirements.
So are we as another question, sorry, are we
No, you're fine.
are a bunch of you people in like a layoff situation or just summer break?
There's a lot of layoffs happening, so there's a lot of permanent reductions happening, which is why we're doing this session today. But
Hmm.
I know that your union probably invited people who are on a normal recess because this information applies to everybody. So
Hmm.
we'll get really detailed on the school stuff here in a few slides. Um,
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay.
just want to
Yeah.
clarify also that the temporary layoff, it's very much dependent on having a solid, firm return to work date within 4 weeks. So even though
Hmm.
you might think in your mind, oh, I'm temporarily laid off, I'm going to figure it. The way the Oregon Employment Department determines a temporary layoff is if you have a solid, guaranteed return to work date within 4 weeks. And because
Hmm.
that can really confuse people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because technically I haven't gotten like a invitation to return. I just got like a projected letter saying like we don't expect anything to change, but I haven't gotten like a formal call saying that I am coming back next fall. So
You're
I don't
definitely
know
going to want to give us that letter, Brian.
if I get one.
Yeah, whatever you have saying, like, we think you might come back, but we have the right to rescind this notification at any time because we might change things. We want you to tell us that for sure. We want to see that for any school employee. We want to make sure we see those letters of what did the school tell you is going on or expected to go on with you, because it's one thing to have a contract that says you're going to return in the fall, we're going to pay you the same, you're going to work the same hours, nothing about your job is going to change at all, you're going to do the exact same duties, blah 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 blah. It's a completely different story to say we hope to have you back in the fall. If we want to bring you back in the fall, would you be willing to come back in the fall? And you say yes. That is a completely different letter. We want to see which one you got.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep,
Yeah, because I
for
just got
sure.
the one saying that they project my hours to not change next fall. But yeah, like I said, I haven't gotten like a formal anything saying that I actually am. So yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm going to scroll up.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, because they want to know if you have reasonable assurance or not, because that's going to determine what wages can be used if you're on a recess or not. So
Right.
any information you have like that, like Aaron said, just send it to them through your messaging portal.
Right. And if for whatever reason I don't get called back to work next fall, then I just continue claiming until the union sets me up somewhere else or
I think Aaron's reading questions, but yes, in theory,
Yes.
that would be correct.
okay.
100%. So we're going to touch on this later, but once you start your initial claim, that locks you in for a lifetime 52-week claim that
Right.
you get 26 weeks of benefits, but you can use it throughout the 52 weeks that it
Hmm.
is live. So yes,
Gotcha.
that's
Okay.
exactly what you would do if that were to happen to you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So
Not to
Olga,
interrupt you guys, I really do apologize, but I think this is important information for the last gentleman who was just on. If he's unaware, if he's been reassigned for next year, he can also call HR and they can let him know as well. But if he got a letter from his building administration saying that his projected hours and everything should stay the same, that's basically you getting, you know, recontracted for the following year at your same location, if that's what it states on that letter.
Oh, like it's just as good.
Yeah. And
Gotcha.
you should have gotten that from your building administration.
Yeah,
So whoever
I
your
got one
building
like months
admin
ago.
is, yeah, you would have gotten it before the end of the school year.
Yeah, okay. So I do have that and I would need to submit that, Aaron.
yeah, you would want to send us that and then we would review it and see if it's determined that it's considered that you have reasonable assurance. And reasonable assurance, it also there's other avenues that are counted here. Like it depends on what you were doing, what was your job title. There's all sorts of things to take into consideration when it comes to how that reasonable assurance impacts your unemployment benefits. So that's another thing to keep in mind that we'll go into in a little bit.
Okay.
But so yeah, it's all in the adjudication world. We use the words "it depends" a lot, and so just know that it kind of depends on your specific circumstances and what your letter says and what exactly you were doing and all that jazz before I would say that means like you are or not eligible for benefits during the school break period. So just
Gotcha.
because you have even potentially a firm offer from the school saying that you're going to return in the fall, depending on what you've been doing for the school, it still might not mean that you wouldn't receive benefits during the break period, even if you were going to be returning in the fall.
Okay.
Yeah. So Olga, I see what you're saying, and you're in the boat of exactly what I'm talking about when I say just keep claiming, because I understand that it's concerning, and I understand that it's an alarming situation, but there's a whole lot of claims, and there's only so many of us that review these situations. There's like 14 of us, I think, on the team that work on school files. So it's very important that you just keep doing what you've been doing, keep actively seeking work, continue to file your claims as you have been. You've uploaded everything that you need to upload. So I can't stress enough to you that you might be patiently waiting for these benefits to roll out to you. But if you're in the layoff bucket and you're not expected to return to work, and you've given us the letter showing that you're not going to return, once your account has been touched to it by an adjudicator such as myself, and they're all touched in the order that they're received, we have over 500 claims right now just for school employees alone, not to mention all the other cases that we have. So just in the school bucket alone, our workload went from 150 last week to 400 this week. So you can see how many people this is actually impacting. So just know that I hear you and I feel for you. You're not alone in this. We will get to it. And as soon as we do, once whatever weeks you've claimed, any weeks that you've claimed, only the first week is a waiting week. We don't pay for the waiting week. That's just an Oregon law. I'll talk about that again later too. But every other week that you've claimed, you would be receiving your benefits for. So please don't stop claiming. I know it's concerning. I know it's hard to be unsure of where your income is coming from. I can't imagine being in your boat, and I'm so, so sorry for that. But I promise that you're not going to go unnoticed. It will, as soon as it can get worked, it will be worked. We're diligently trying to get through this workload. And once we can start getting the payments out to you, once they're out, there's not going to be any more holdup. As long as you're eligible each and every week, there's not going to be any more hang up on your claim, and you will get paid for the weeks that you have claimed. And then going forward, there wouldn't be any more issue or holdup with your claim at all, as long as, again, you're reporting those work searches and things like that. So just keep doing what you're doing, and don't call if you, again, I would recommend what Teal said. If you're concerned about what I'm saying right now, Olga, just log into the owl and say live agent, and someone will be there to chat with you, and they can let you know, this is what I'm looking at for your claim. Here's what we're seeing, and let you know if there's anything further we need from you or not. But I highly doubt it based on what you're putting here in the chat.
Log to OWL. What is it? Login.
Log into Francis Online, to the Francis website, and then down at the bottom there's like a little like AI guy. It looks like an owl, like an office assistant thing, and you'll see the owl down at the bottom, and click on that, and it's like a chat bot that opens, and then just type live agent.
Thank you so much for the answer. The problem is, first of all, I started the claim in winter for this winter break, and that's, unfortunately, I did it and I got for 1 week benefits. And then when I started in June, they told I can't start a new claim, I have to continue this claim. And when I submitted the application, they told I'm in between years, and they told I have to submit the additional information by today, 23rd. And I submitted twice. I sent through the message. I don't know where to submit. I couldn't find questionnaire, or I just sent a message with the attached letter and no response. And they don't let me to do the claim. So it has to be, as I understood, it has to be a link to claim for the week that I'm seeking for the job or something. It's nothing. I'm not be able to claim the next bi-weekly. That's what I mean, because today's the last day and no response from them, and I don't know where to claim the next week.
Okay, so have you already done the restart of your claim?
Yes, and they told me I'm between years.
But what I'm asking is,
they have to have additional information, and I send them through the messages my laid off letter, and no response. And it was the last day today. I have to submit this information.
Right, but you've met that requirement, so that's not what's holding it up. What I'm asking is there nowhere on Francis where you can say claim a week of benefits?
No.
Okay, then I recommend going to the OWL and reaching out to a claim specialist and finding out why it's not letting you do that, because those two things don't correlate.
Okay.
So reach out to the claim specialist and find out why it's not allowing you to claim benefits, because something else, it's asking Francis, there's somewhere like a week got skipped, or when you set up the restart, then you didn't claim the actual week or something. There's some kind of issue with the restart and claiming weekly that is a different issue than your school employee break between years problem. Because the break between years, we're still going to adjudicate, review that, and make sure that the layoff is complete and you'll be good to go. So if you can't claim a week of benefits, reach out through the OWL, through the claim system, and let them know that there's something happening that's making it so that you can't claim weekly, because that means that there's some kind of restart that needs to be done. And no matter what, a specialist can do all of that for you and make sure that that part's done so that you can still claim weekly, because those are two separate issues.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay.
So Erin, we got a question from Ingrid. I requested a letter ID last Tuesday and I still have not received the letter. I went to the OWL chat and it just tells me it should take a few days to arrive. I just requested another letter. So what if that one does not come? So Aaron, if someone goes and requests a second letter, that means if the first one comes, that code doesn't work anymore. Is that correct?
That's the way I understand it, yeah. But I am honestly not privy to how the PIN works because that's on France, that's a Francis their back end thing. And so how Francis does what they do with their identity process happens way before it gets to the adjudication realm. So that's why I would recommend reaching out via OWL through the live agents and asking them about the setting up of the PIN and finding out what happened with that letter. Because again, it comes snail mail, and I have no idea how many days it can take to get to you. But it definitely I, I I would think it would arrive within a week, but again, I'm not 100% sure on that because I don't that's from the claims side of things. And I'm not in the claims role. So I would recommend um did you type live agent in OWL or did you just talk to OWL?
Aaron, I know we've had other reps on that say it takes 3 to 5 business days for a letter to come after you've requested it. So that
Yeah, that's what I would do, Ingrid. I would just reach out and say in the OWL, just say live agent, because that's going to get you to my actual claims specialists, like the people in the claims department and a real person, as opposed to OWL giving you like the FAQ answers to stuff. For sure. Absolutely, of course. I'm sorry it's taking so long to get you. I wish the identity verification things didn't take so long. It's absolutely frustrating, and I would not want to deal with it either, especially with everything else y'all have already had going on. So, my heart truly does go out to you guys in this time, and same thing with you, Olga. I totally get the frustration, but I would go to OWL and type live agent and say, I've been trying to claim weeks and Francis won't let me. Because if you need to do a restart or an AC of some kind, they will get that going for you and make it so that Francis is going to populate with the claim a week of benefits option for you that very next day. So definitely reach out to them and let them help walk you through that in order to get your claim restarted so that you don't have to miss any weeks of claiming. Because I don't want to see that happen to anybody. Okay, so the next slide is going to be again, when you want to send us messages, like if you have that letter of intent to return, letter for your layoff, whichever the case is for you. If you have not received a questionnaire, you can always attach it to the questionnaire as well. I highly recommend doing it that way. But you can always, through Francis, you can ask us questions, send us documents, view messages, or make any contact to us, clicking on the message box and going to view messages will populate any messages you've gotten from us, and then or any messages that you sent, and then to send a message, you just click that link below and it would say, and you could send a message to us. Anytime that you have a benefit issue that's open up, it will give you the option of which message if you want to attach the message to a specific benefit issue or something like that. But in an overall sense, once you've sent us a message, it is considered contact. So if you send us, if we have anything out to you that says this is your deadline, like we talked about with Olga earlier, she had a deadline of today that she had to get us that layoff letter by, because she sent us a message or because she responded to the questionnaire, either way, within that time frame that is considered, it is considered to meet your due process requirements, which by Constitution protects your rights to be heard. And we cannot make a decision without considering the information you've provided. So it's really important that you know that you have that right. So once you've sent us a message, it is considered contact to the UI contact center. And once we've had that message in our hands, we can't move forward with the decision without taking that information into consideration. And we can't make a decision against you without considering that information. So just know that if you're playing phone tag with an adjudicator such as myself, I always recommend reach out via chat, or not chat, via the message system, and send us a message and say, hey, I've tried to call you, I missed you, or I missed, if you get a voicemail from us or an email from us, hey, I missed a call or I missed an email from so-and-so, and just reach back out that way. And it's considered contact as long as you get that into us before the deadline. And we cannot move forward with a decision without considering the new information we've received from you. So just know that the message is a really cool way that you can get a hold of us, again, to avoid our atrocious hold times that like, no matter how many staff we have on the phones, there's absolutely nothing we can do about it. It's just awful. I am so sorry. I can't apologize enough for that. So I
Hey,
recommend the
Aaron,
message. Yes.
I just thought of something for Ingrid. As far as we understand, Aaron and I understand, the Francis system's going to use whatever address it has on file from previous, um, accounts of yours. So Ingrid, if you have moved, Francis might not be sending the letter to the correct address. So when you connect with an agent in the live chat, make sure to send your correct address so that your new letter that you have just requested today comes to the correct address. And for anyone else, if you know you've moved since the last time you had a claim with the Oregon Employment Department, they're not going to have your address, your correct address on file. So you may need to just go ahead and get on the OWL chat, update your address, request the letter so that you ensure it's coming to the right one. We have learned that, Aaron, at other sessions that that's the best way to update your address ahead of the letter with the code coming to complete your Francis profile.
Yeah, that is very true. And it is correct also that if you were part of the situation during the COVID, then what UI had as your address, Francis knows your old address. So if you did move since the pandemic, and you haven't filed since then, okay. We'll see, the 30-minute wait time is definitely a lot better with the live agent thing. So definitely be on alert for them to get back to you. I wish I had better knowledge or information about the pin stuff from Francis, but Francis she does her own thing. And yeah, I just truly, I'm so sorry. That's all I really can say about that. Okay, so the next slide, please. Okay, so now we're going to go into how to file a week of benefits. And like I already said before, I always recommend filing on Sunday for the week prior. And you'll need to file for either through online or through the weekly claim phone line. And you'll answer questions about being able, available, and actively seeking work for the period. This is the link I was talking about that I would hope that Olga can see, but apparently she can't. So that's why I'm recommending talking to someone, because each week when you're ready to file your claim, you should see this ready to file. Orange is the code for something needs to be done. For Francis, if there's action needed on something, it always comes through as orange. Once it's been done, it shows as green. When something's either been denied for some reason, it turns it red. So just be looking out for this little box that says file now, and it gives you the last day of the week. It gives you the Saturday, which is the week that you're claiming for. You're going to want to provide those work seeking activities on there, which include those 2 direct employer contacts, again, where you submitted your resume or actually applied for a job, even just called an old employer and said, hey, are you hiring? It counts as direct employer contact. And then the 3 work seeking activities, or any of the things we talked about already: resume building, interview workshops, anything like that. So make sure that you're doing that every single week. The other questions it'll ask you is if you were fired from a job, if you were suspended from a job, if you quit a job, and if you turn down any offer of work, it'll ask you about that. And if you say yes to any of those, it'll ask you for a little bit of detail and send you a questionnaire about the rest. And then the other thing it asks you is if you were away from your permanent residence for more than 3 days. If you were away from your permanent residence for more than 3 days, you're going to check yes to that box, and then it'll send you a questionnaire about that. But those are the questions that you'll get each and every week. And going on to the next slide, there is a couple different ways that benefits get paid. The most popular method and the best method in my eyes is always that direct deposit. You can set up direct deposit either when you file your initial claim, or you can do it at any point. There's an extra link to get there through the action items on Francis if you don't have your bank account information at the time that you set up your initial claim, but it will ask you for that when you set up your initial claim. The faster you set it up, the better, because if you don't choose direct deposit, the default method that it goes to is going to be the Relia card. The direct deposit, as it says here, is there's no fees associated with it. And that's the best part of it. Where the Relia card, there's going to be a fees associated with this method when you do ATM withdrawals, even sometimes with US Bank, because it's not technically a US Bank card. So even at ATMs tied to US Bank, it can sometimes charge a service fee when you do withdrawals. Any other out-of-network ATM withdrawals does that double fee like you do when you're using your debit card outside of your bank. If you need a replacement card, it charges you a fee if for some reason your account stays inactive, but it works very similar to a debit card. So if you do not have a bank account, Relia card is a reasonable way of getting that. Again, that comes out to you snail mail. So if you do not select direct deposit up front, it will automatically default to sending that Relia card. So just keep that in mind. Before you're setting things up, make sure you have your bank account information ready. The next slide, please. And it's going to show you, again, how to set it up. If for some reason you didn't have your bank account information available right away, here's where you get to it. There's going to be the managing your profile, and you'll select more in the action items area. And then managing the payment channels, and managing your payment channels will bring you to the link in order to set up the direct deposit. The next slide shows you the information that you're going to need in order to complete that direct deposit. So again, this is what it's going to ask you for the first time in the initial claim if you select direct deposit, or if you set up the new payment channel after you've set up the IC, your initial claim. It's going to ask for your bank's routing number, your account number, the bank account type that it is, and the name on the account. Make sure you provide the full name that's associated to the account, just so again, there's no hiccups to that. So any of these account types will work, either checking business, savings, or savings business. So those are the different types of accounts that you can use. So make sure that you have that information handy when you're filling out your initial claim, so you don't have to worry about it if you want to set up direct deposit. Next slide, please, goes into our taxes and tax withholdings. So UI benefits are a taxable income at both the state and federal level. During that tax season, usually around January, usually in January, you receive the 1099 in the mail outlining your payment benefits. When you file and are receiving UI, you do have the choice to have those taxes withheld from your weekly benefit payment or not. If you do not withhold taxes from your check, they will be due when you file your taxes. So you can choose to have that 10% withheld for the federal and or the 6% withheld from state when you're filing each week, or you can opt to not do that, and then they will be due at the April tax day. Or you can withhold either, both, or none. So totally your call on that. It kind of depends. Everybody's different. But it will give you the different boxes. It'll say, yes, withhold my federal, yes, withhold my state, or yes, withhold both. And then the last option is no, do not withhold. It will give you all 4 options there to select either or the both, or none. So just be on the lookout and make sure you select the box that you want, the one that meets what you're looking for. And then next slide goes into maintaining the UI eligibility. iMetch Skills, I'll let be plugged later because it's a really cool system and other people know a lot more about it than I do. But it is the employment department's job search system, and it is a requirement to set up your iMatch Skills account in order to be eligible for benefits. So just like your Francis Online account, you can set up at any time. So once you have like a general resume, work history information, information available, ready to go. I recommend setting up your iMatch skills because once that's set up, when you go to your welcome meeting, which is the next bullet point, they will look that up and verify that for you. The welcome meeting is a requirement in order to maintain UI eligibility. It's a requirement up front. It's usually done within the first couple weeks, and that's where you can either virtually, in person, or otherwise meet with our WorkSource offices in order to go over the welcome meeting. It'll talk up to you about your labor market, like what kind of jobs you're required to work for, what kind of customary days and hours that kind of work is, based on your prior work experience, skills, and training and expertise. So just know that that's going to be something you need to do. Be on the lookout for that letter to come electronically through Francis or via the mail, depending on which option delivery method you choose. And that will give you the address of your local WorkSource office that you're going to be attending the meeting in, if you want to go in person or virtually, as well as the link to the WorkSource online in order to set up a virtual appointment. And it will also supply you with what the deadline date is for that meeting. So just know that, be on the lookout for that. And again, I recommend once you set up your Francis online, go ahead and reach out to WorkSource and get that meeting scheduled, get it going, set up your iMatch skills so that they can verify that that was done. And they'll send us the all is well, this has been completed, and it'll clear everything out from your Francis before we even get to it to have to review it and ask you why you haven't attended it yet. Because there's very few good cause in order to miss that deadline and not do the welcome process. So just get it done as soon as you can. The meetings don't take very long and they can be super helpful. WorkSource has a lot of stuff available to help you out while you're in this time frame of needing to look for work. So the welcome meeting is a great way to get to know them and their programs as well. ID verification is obviously really important to us now that so many things are done virtually and online. And unfortunately, there's a lot of mean people that like to do a lot of mean things to people out there. So as of April 20th of 2023, you're required to prove your identity with the local WorkSource office. That'll be done at your welcome meeting as well. The letter that's mailed to you with the deadline, it will also include the required documentation, which I'll show you here on the next slide. But the letter that gives you the required documentation is a list that you have showing you what you have to provide, either like 2 primary or 1 primary and 2 secondary documents. Here's the list of documents. I always tell people if you have your when you have whatever you get together when your W-2 or whatever for filing your initial claim, if you have a driver's license, if you have a passport, I always tell people just get your driver's license and passport together when you go to the welcome meeting, because then you're golden. Social security card is considered a secondary document. So if you have your social security card, I always recommend to have your driver's license, social security card, and your W-2, all those documents together with you when you go to that welcome meeting. And then when you go to that meeting, they'll prove your identity, get all that squared away, and it'll be all good. But again, this letter is going to come to you with the welcome letter, this list. So I don't expect you to memorize what's on here. But it does give you a list of like exactly what, because a lot of people want to provide their bills and stuff. They will look at the date stamp on those bills to make sure it's not more than 90 days old. So just know that. But there's a bunch of different secondary documents that you would need. And if you have a secondary document, you need to have 2 along with a primary document. So just keep that in mind. But there has to be a primary. So any state issued photo ID or driver's license subsides for the primary document. Okay. And then next slide is the 3 A's of UI. We've already kind of gone into this a little bit, but now I'll define them for you. Able to work means you must be both physically and mentally capable of performing the type of work you're seeking. So meaning like you can't be like if you're sick, as I joke around with people all the time, unemployment doesn't have PTO, doesn't have sick time, that kind of stuff. So if you were sick during the week, you might not be eligible for benefits that week. But even if you're denied benefits, again, if you're just not able to work because you were sick during the week, file anyway. Don't bother messing with getting a restart and having anything where Francis isn't letting you claim a week of benefits. Just say that you weren't able for the week, answer the questionnaire, let us know how long you were sick for, and depending on the circumstances, you may or may not be eligible for benefits that week. If for some reason you're not eligible for benefits that week, we will send you a denial letter for the week, but it only impacts that week. And because like Teal talked about earlier, your benefits are for a full year and there's about 26 weeks worth of benefits, your benefits would then roll into the next week. It wouldn't come away from your balance. If you're denied for the week, it doesn't impact the next week or the weeks going forward. So if you're not able to work, just answer the questionnaire as such and give us the details as to why you were not able to work. Available for work means you must be willing to work both full-time, part-time, and be willing to accept temporary and permanent work. You must be available for work during all the days and hours customary for the type of work you're seeking. Being available also means being capable of accepting and reporting for all suitable work opportunities within your labor market. Again, your labor market will be defined during your welcome meeting. So that's the other reason it's really cool to get those done and out of the way as quick as possible so that you can know exactly what those expectations are. What is my customary hours? Where am I expected to travel? Remote work is not a labor market at this point in time. Even though we all wish it could be, it's not. So make sure that you know that you must be available within your labor market, and your labor market is based on your primary residence. It's based on where you live.
Dad, what did I do? Oops.
Okay. So actively seeking work, this is where you must do what a reasonable, prudent person would do to return to work as soon as possible. So to meet this requirement, you must have 5 work searches each week. We will ask you to provide those to us. 2 of those work searches must be a direct employer contract with either where you've applied, where you submitted a resume, or contacted an employer in person or over the phone. Or had even an interview. So even if you applied for work last week and then the next week they call you back for an interview, that's a work direct employer contact week 1, direct employer contact week 2. You can repeat those as long as it's forward progression within a job. And then the 3 work seeking activities, again, they include updating your resume, browsing job listings, writing your cover letter, attending WorkSource workshops, which I'll let them plug. Again, there's a lot available and they're really awesome. So I really recommend going to those as much as you can and utilize that opportunity, those free resources available to you. Yeah. Okay, next slide. So as I talked about earlier, the waiting week credit, don't let this hold you up, please, because the waiting week has to be served if you haven't filed an initial claim. Earlier, I think it was Olga was talking, or one of you mentioned that you already filed and you served your waiting week because you didn't get paid one of the 2 weeks during winter break. That first week was your waiting week. So a waiting week is a requirement. And in order for it to qualify as your waiting week, you had to have been eligible during the week. You had to meet those requirements still of actively seeking work and stuff. So claim it, get it out of the way. As long as you didn't exceed your weekly benefit amount in your earnings for the week or worked more than full time during the week, and you maintained all those other eligibility requirements of being able, available, and actively seeking, that first week you claim is going to serve as your waiting week. And once that credit's been served, it's been served. And then you're eligible for benefits for a following 26 out of 52 weeks of the year, approximately, depending on your benefit amount and all that jazz. So don't wait to file your initial claim. I can't stress that enough based on when you want your waiting week to be. If you did not exceed your benefit amount or whatever, just let your waiting week roll out and get it over with as quick as you can. Another one is traveling outside of your labor market. Again, just like I said earlier, we don't pay PTO, we don't pay sick time. So if you're away from your labor market for more than half the week, you may not be eligible for benefits that week. I don't recommend not claiming because again, it just gives an extra step in the process where you have to file a restart and it can hiccup your claim, like I think what Olga is experiencing right now. And I hate to see that happen to people. So what I recommend doing is if you were away from your permanent residence, I like to say people go to Disneyland because that's a place I go. So like I'd say I went to Disneyland and I was there for 4 days. So I would, when the questions comes to where you're away from your permanent residence, say, yes, we'll send you a questionnaire. You tell us about your awesome vacation. An adjudicator like me reviews it, gets super duper jealous that you were in Disneyland for the week, tells you the benefits aren't allowed during that week, and then you just keep on claiming and there's not going to be any more hang up in your claim. If you don't want to claim the week, that's fine, but it will give you the option and need to restart your claim. However, if you were only away from your permanent residence, like let's say you went to Bend for the weekend, because again, another place I love to travel is Bend. So if you were going away for 2 days or 2.5 days, that's less than half the week. So the answer to that question is no, I was not away from my permanent residence for more than 3 days. If you went and stayed with family to help take care of them and you were only away from your house for a couple days, that's not more than half the week. So you don't need to answer yes to that question. Remember, the question is asking for more than 3 days because the requirement is that you cannot be away for more than half the week. If you were traveling and your travel included, you went somewhere like I wanted to be a Disney princess, so I'm willing and I'm totally applying for work at Disneyland while I'm there, then I am potentially still eligible for benefits that week as long as I was willing to accept and report for work when I went to Disneyland. Heck yes, I'm willing to be Pocahontas. It sounds totally awesome. So I'm great. I still could qualify for benefits. So again, if you were away from your permanent residence and you were on vacation, but you were in a place of vacation that you would also relocate to. Another example I like to give is Hawaii. Lots of people would be willing to relocate to Paradise. So if you were looking for work in Hawaii, you were willing to accept that work if they would have offered you in Hawaii, and you would have moved to Hawaii, dropped everything, and just gone to Paradise, you could be golden and still be eligible for benefits. So please don't stop claiming just because you were away from your permanent residence. Let us as adjudicators review and see if you're eligible for the week. If you're denied for that week. Again, just like the able and being sick, it rolls into the next week. It doesn't impede your ability to claim going forward. Okay, Teal, your hand's up. Did you want me to refer to chat or did you have something to say?
So Nico has kind of a specific question, and I was just going to let you address it. My last official day was June 13th, but my union rep told me that they were likely to deny me anyway, and I'd have to appeal it, so I might as well just file when I asked. So I listed my last day as June 5th. Is it possible the office will deny me going forward because of that? I was already approved for last week. It's only this week that's been the problem.
Okay, let me see if I can understand. So your official last day was 6/13. First of all, the question right above that from Johnson, can you back claim, for example, would you be able to claim the week of the 16th? You absolutely can claim the week of the 16th. That's the week that people are claiming right now. So the week of the week, every week you're claiming for the week prior. So technically, if your last day of work was June 13th, I highly recommend, if you unless you're in that situation of you're looking to set up your IC July 1st because of the monetary point of things. In that case, no, you couldn't go back to June 13th, but it would be worth it because you can claim a little longer. But if you want to set up and claim for June 13th and excuse me, not June 13th, the week of June 16th through the 21st, that's actually the week people are claiming right now. So Nico, let me get back to you. So I wonder if a problem with those phone, I'm not sure why you were likely to be denied, I guess is my bigger concern.
Yeah, and I think the advice we would always give is be honest with your claim.
Yeah, so if you were gonna if it depends on why you were supposedly going to be denied because we determine if you're going to be denied benefits or not. Your employer does not determine that. So no matter what happens, it's completely our call based on, and we apply certain statutes, laws, and rules. We don't even make like our own personal objective opinion on that. It's very much like based on law and rule. And the reason people are denied benefits is one of those three A's that we've already talked about. You weren't able, you weren't available, you weren't actively seeking work, and that's a week by week thing. That's not an overall your claim is denied thing. The other reason people sometimes will be denied benefits is because they were discharged for misconduct. And misconduct is very clearly defined in the law and rule is another reason people will be denied. And you're denied at that point in time, but it doesn't mean you're denied overall. That's considered a non-monetary determination. So you're denied the eligibility of benefits right now from that employer. That doesn't mean that you're denied benefits overall, because once you've worked for another employer, you could overcome that denial and still be eligible for benefits. So I'm not sure that I would have to know more details from you about what your employer said. So what I would recommend, Nico, is apply for benefits, talk to an adjudicator about, like myself, about what happened in your circumstance and what exactly was said. Because if it's, and again, the last one, going back to my list of things, discharge due to misconduct is potentially denied with being eligible for benefits right now until you've overcome that denial period. And the last but not least is if you voluntarily quit without good cause. So if one of those applies, and again, that is a denial that's considered non-monetary. It doesn't mean you're not eligible for benefits. It means that we can't say that you're allowed to use benefits right now until you've overcome this. But if you're part of the layoffs due to lack of work and stuff, I don't understand why that would have ever been said to you. So I would recommend applying, going over your circumstances with the adjudicator and let them sort that out with you and see what happened to determine your specific eligibility without making you get too into it in front of everybody.
Okay, I can clarify real quick, or I can just wait till the end of the meeting to ask you too.
Yeah. Let's just hold your thought, because
Got
I'm
it.
definitely intrigued. Um, as an adjudicator, that's my job, is to be very intrigued by these situations because this is what I investigate. But I definitely don't want to confusify everything in case other people have the same question or heard the same thing. So I don't want to disregard it either, Nico. So can you get back? Can I get back to you on that one?
Yes, for sure. I'll just wait till the end of the
Awesome.
meeting.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, no
And
problem.
and actually, Nico, once Erin finishes and another presenter comes on, you can direct message through the chat more
Okay,
specifics,
awesome.
and that's probably the best avenue. I would recommend not being dishonest when filing. So if your last day is whatever it is, please put that, because you don't want to give bad information, because then that could come back and disqualify you. We want to make sure that everybody moves through the process with as little interruptions as possible. So I would highly advise you to be as accurate as possible when filing your initial claim and your weekly claims. Erin, we had a question. How do I report the job searches? Will I need to upload documents showing that I have applied?
Not at all. That's a great question. So basically, how you report these is just basically it's going to give you a date. You select which date in the calendar. It's like a radio button. You select which date you did the application or uploaded your resume or whatever. And then it's going to ask you for the employer name, the employer's location. So it's really important that if first, and I tell this to people all the time, if it is a remote job that you're looking for, please tell us where the job is. Don't put remote, because I don't want to see the system hold you up for that. Just because you put remote and it's like, oh, remote work isn't a labor market. Well, but the job was in, like, I'm just going to throw out the city Beaverton because that's where I'm at, right? So like, but the job was in Beaverton, the employer is in in Beaverton, you know it was with Beaverton, so put Beaverton, Oregon. Okay. Then it's going to ask you for the job title of the job that it was that you were inquiring on. And it's going to ask you for the contact method, and it's going to ask you what the result was. The result will give you different drop down options like not hired, hired, interview, pending. I mean, like there's a few different things, but we just ask you to be on, like it's truly an honor system thing. Just give us the details of that job. And then for the work seeking, it's the same thing. It'll give you a date option. You select what date you did it on. And then there's just like a fill in the blank bar that you say, I uploaded my resume to Indeed. I on this day, I set up my iMatch skills. On this day, I met with WorkSource and did a job interview class or whatever. So you would just select the date that you did it on and then tell us what the work seeking activity looked like. But that's a great question. So yeah, you don't have to give us any evidence that, oh, here's the link that I filled out through, Facebook Marketplace or whatever. Like we don't require any of that. You just tell us what the method of communication was, how you reached out to them. Was it in person? Was it via email? Was it online? That kind of thing. And then where was it? Job title, employer name, and date, and the result.
I've also heard in presentations, like if you apply to 5 jobs on Indeed, it's good to put the ID number because each job posting has an ID number, and that helps the system clarify, like you're not putting the same thing 5 times.
Yes, great point. Thank you, Teal, for bringing that up. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, but because there's going to be times like I've seen it with like where if you're applying with Providence or something, it's like, okay, did you you didn't apply for it's a hospital. So there's like, you applied for 5 different nursing jobs. So give me the job, like this more specific detailed job name or the job title of like nursing in this unit, and tell me what it is so that it doesn't look like you said 5 times that you applied for a nurse at St. Vincent's. It's like, well, that's a duplicate because that might flag your file to be adjudicated by someone like me, and we'll just call you and clarify that, and then we'll be done. We'll get your benefits rolled out to you, but it does potentially cause a delay in your payment.
Cool. And then Aaron, we've had just a couple questions that I've answered, but I just want to let you speak on it. Some people, their last day was in the middle of the week, and they're wondering when they should start claiming, and so I just let them know that they could start claiming the following week, but if you just want to touch on again, like what makes you eligible in a week, is your weekly benefit amount. Did you make over? Did you make less?
Yeah, sure. So basically, if you claim the week that you were working, what ends up happening is okay, so I see the one about the 18th. So as an example, if you worked through the 18th, and your benefit amount is $800 and something, right? Because you qualify for max benefit amount or something, but you only earned like $350, that could still technically count as your waiting week because you didn't earn excess of your weekly benefit amount, and you definitely didn't work full time during that week. So because your hours and earnings was under your weekly benefit amount, as long as you still met those other eligibility requirements, right? The other thing to keep in mind is, did you know these requirements were going to be asked of you? So during the week ending the 21st, did you actually contact any employers? Yes or no? I wouldn't recommend making that your first week because you didn't know any better, so you didn't do that. So I would make this your first week because you didn't technically meet those eligibility requirements either way. But if you did, if you knew like, oh, well, I already know how unemployment works because I've been through the rigmarole before. So you're just one of those people that already knows how we operate, and you work through the 18th, you earn less than your weekly benefit amount, claim it. Let that be your waiting week because it's still going to serve as your waiting week, and you'll get your waiting week credit out of the way. And now this week, the first week that you're earning 0 income, will qualify as you'll definitely qualify for your weekly benefit amount and your full weekly benefit amount and meet all those eligibility requirements still. If you can give me those 2 direct employer contacts and 3 work seeking activities for last week. And by the way, also on that note, with your 2 direct employer contacts, one of those 2 could be the fact that you worked for your employer. Okay, so you can claim it as I worked this many hours. Like, let's say you only worked 16 hours because you were just helping finish cleaning up the classrooms or what have you, right? You were finishing up your final grades, final paperwork. You give me those hours and earnings. One of your two direct employer contacts is your employer. Your other two direct employer contacts was, this other school within the district, because I was just double checking to make sure that if I jumped ship and went over to this school, if I could or could not be rehired. And then because I knew I wasn't going to get rehired, I went ahead and I started working on my resume. I put together a reference list because I know who's going to be my references. And I talked to this person in the office before I left the school to make sure they would be willing to be a reference for me. Well, there's 3 work seeking activities. There you go. You're wham bam done. Cool. Thank you so much. Get those sent in to us. Claim that week and allow that to be your first week so we can let that serve as your waiting week. Does that answer your question?
And we just got Nick kind of on piggybacking off what you're speaking about. I still have another part-time position. Does working that job count as direct contact?
Great question. Okay, so working that job for the first couple weeks, you can do that, but Francis will flag it. The most important part that you're going to want to do is with that part-time job. Number one, make sure you tell us about that part-time job when you're claiming your IC so we can count those wages to up those wages for you. Number two, it's really important that you claim that in your earnings, how many hours and earnings you got each week, because what it does is it might, but it might not impact how much your benefit. I cannot do that math. I have never been good at it. Teal is better than I am, honestly. I've heard her do it better than me. So if you earned a certain amount, it could potentially put your benefits onto a sliding scale where you'll earn a little less than your maximum benefit amount that you could earn each week. But the good news with that is that because the benefit amount is your overall balance is then 26 weeks in a 52-week period. If you're working part-time, if for some reason your benefit amount is impacted and you went from, like, let's say you went from 500 to 350 or 500 to 450 or something, that extra $50 stays in your balance. So you're potentially eligible for benefits for 27 weeks, 28 weeks, 29 weeks, however much longer, because your benefit balance amount isn't used up yet. So if you're working part-time, I definitely recommend claiming, but I would recommend not using them because they're not, the reason that they can't count is because of the rule and law stating that the actively seeking work requirement is in order to return to work at the earliest possible time. Technically, you can't return to work with them. You are still working with them. So Francis is going to flag that and say, well, this isn't a new employer. This isn't someone who has the potential to hire them. They are already hired here. I hope that helps answer that. But that's the reason for that. Yeah, I use our acronyms all the time, you guys. I'm so sorry, but IC is the initial claim. That's what that means.
I got
Okay.
you, Erin. I got you. I speak UI.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got a few more slides left with UI, so let's get through that. And like I said, Erin's here, so you guys just hold your questions for a few more slides, and
I won't
Erin
forget
will
you,
answer.
Nico, I promise. Okay. So other important UI info, again, it's a 26 weeks overall, 6 months of benefits. But again, if for some reason you're earning a little less than your benefit amount, that amount can change. If you weren't eligible for 1 week, that means like week 28, you'll get the benefits from week 5 because you were denied because you went to Disneyland, that kind of a thing. So, and the claim is active for a 52-week period. So it's really important if you set up a claim back in December or you set up a claim during spring break of this year or something like that, that's still your claim and it's going to be your claim for a 52-week time frame. You're going to want to file what we call the additional claim to re-report that you're back no longer working again. So if you need help with that, reach out. If you work part-time or temporary jobs while receiving your UI, still file your unemployment insurance claims, like I said earlier, because you could potentially receive a partial benefit amount or not have it impacted at all. Sometimes if you didn't earn enough, it's not even impacted in the slightest. So it just depends. There's never ever going to be a need to close your claim. That basically means if you start working again, you don't need to call us and say, hey, I'm working. You guys can cancel, close my claim up. Just stop claiming benefits if you're working full time or work back to work full time. We're just so happy for you that you managed to get back up on your feet. If you don't claim a weekly claim for your benefits 1 week and then you file a claim again later, that's going to initiate that restarting a claim. Again, what I'm kind of suspicious that Olga's in the boat of. So we need to go ahead and restart your claim, which usually can be done via the online claim system. But sometimes you can do that calling the UI hotline. Again, calling the UI hotline in mine and Teal's world is always going to be the live agent through OWL though. And then next slide, this is where we're going to get into the school employee stuff. So the way this works is school employees, the federal law prohibits the use of base period wages to establish your monetary eligibility during the break periods, meaning if, this is for certain jobs, if you've performed certain services under certain capacities for educational employers. This includes lower education or college or vocational, and working in the service districts for work performed in instructional, research, or principal administrative capacity. So if you worked in the office with the administration team and you were part of the principal team, like specifically part of this principal's team, if you worked in research of some kind, instructional means the teacher, not teacher's assistants, not if you were on recess duty and you were just helping the kids in a one-on-one because they needed that extra assistance, whatever, you're the teacher's assistant, any of those positions not affected by this. It's very important that you understand that because those employees are protected by are considered what we call non-professional, which just basically means that you're not the actual teacher, and the use of wages during the recess period is not prohibited. So it's very important that you explain in explicit detail when you set up your claim, what was your job duties? What exactly did you do? Did you assist the teacher or were you the teacher? That's a very distinct difference. Were you the coach or were you the assistant to the coach? Were you the principal or were you the admin at the front desk? What exactly did you do? Were you on recess duty? Were you working one-on-one with students? Were you actually instructing the students? There's a huge difference between those things. Also, the use of those wages during the recess period is only prohibited if you're expected to for sure return after the break period. So we'll go into that on the next slide next. But I just want to kind of cover again, for the who is considered a school employee, for the purposes of unemployment insurance, a school employee is someone who works for a public or private school service. This rule does not apply to anybody who is not in that instructional, research, or principal administrative capacity. So when we say the term non-professional, don't take it offensively. That basically means you weren't in one of the capacities that's considered that you would not be able to use those wages during the break period. And yes, next slide, cool. The break period, it means, oh, no, I meant the one you were on. I'm so sorry. I got behind a minute. Yeah, that one. Okay, so you may not be eligible for unemployment insurance benefits when on a school break between terms or years if you are expected to return in the same or similar capacity. That has so many contingencies on it, though I can't even get into it too much with you. So that's why it's really important that you give us all of that information. Tell us what your letter looks like. Show us what your contract looks like. What did you do? What were your job duties with that contract? Because if you were a teacher and you're going to go back to being a teacher, but you were a teacher teaching 40 hours a week and now you're only teaching 15 hours a week, you're not going to receive the same amount of wages. Therefore, you're not considered to have the same reasonable assurance. If you're going to return, but there's some kind of stipulation like the school's like, but we can pull this offer anytime we want to based on potential funding issues, whatever. It depends on the offer itself. So make sure you let us know what your offer looks like. If you have the offer letter, please show it to us. Your reasonable assurance is very, very important here. What you did is very important here, because the break period and whether or not we can use the school wages during the break period it depends on what circumstances you're returning to. If you're going to return in the fall, but you know you're not going to return until October because the school is not funding you the first day of school, the funding doesn't start right after the break period, you don't have the same kind of reasonable assurance. You're not going to return until this time because of whatever happens or whatever it might be, or you're going to go into substitution, or you're going to return, but you're going to be working in the school cafeteria instead, or anything like that. It really all depends on what's happening. So make sure we see that letter and what your reasonable assurance does or does not look like when you apply for your benefits. And if you can't get it to us in an attachment when you apply for benefits, give it to us through messages like we talked about earlier. And there's two different kinds of break periods. Right now, we're on the break in between years for you guys. That's what it's considered when it's that summer break period. So again, if you're not expecting to return in after that Labor Day holiday, if you're not going to go back to school at that point in time, or if you're going to go back to school, but there's some kind of contingency in your offer, or if you're going to go back to school and there's some kind of change in your job duties, let us know all of those details so we can review you on an individual level and determine whether or not you can use the school base your wages. Earlier, someone was talking about working part-time. If you have another job that potentially makes you eligible for benefits, what this really means is even if you're going to return in the fall and you're going to return as a teacher and you're going to return with the same amount of pay or more pay, and you're going to work the same amount of hours and so on and so forth, but you've worked part-time and you've worked enough hours to still establish a claim during the recess, we can still pay you a potential part of your weekly benefit amount, just a reduced weekly benefit amount during the break period. So it doesn't mean you're not eligible for benefits. If you have a second job that could offset your income, we can still pay you benefits. So my recommendation is to file a claim. Worst case scenario is we say you're denied the use of wages during the break period. When and if you receive an offer from a school, if you do receive an offer from a new school later on, once that offer comes in, let us know. Reach out to UI and tell us about that offer. At that point in time, we'll review that offer, see if it's considered reasonable assurance bumped up against the school that you worked for before. If it's not, you're still good to go. If it is, we'll let you know if there needs to be a reduction in your benefit or not. So just keep us informed on what changes, if you have any changes during during this recess period, once you become eligible for benefits. Okay. So next slide. So there is a little section online that kind of discusses the school workers and how it works and whether or not you're eligible for benefits as a school worker during the break period in more of those layman's terms without applying the statutes the way that we go into them so much, or the Senate bills. So just I recommend reviewing that too. Again, you'll get a presentation of this I think it's already been dropped in the slide or in the chat, but you'll get this PowerPoint sent to you. So make sure that you have this and you can go and access this link. Again, and then there's us as adjudicators that are assigned the files. And I promise, even though it might not feel like it right now, if you've already been claiming, we are getting through the workload as quick as we can to get benefits rolled out to people as quick as we can, because the last thing we want to see people go through is a holdup in their income while they're waiting. So just know that and continue to keep claiming, because we can't pay you for weeks that you didn't claim, but we can pay you for the weeks you did claim. So even if you haven't received the benefits yet, just know that once the benefits are determined to be allowed, the use of wages is determined to be allowed, because you do not have reasonable assurance to return in the fall. Unfortunately, any and all weeks other than your first waiting week will be paid out to you. I can't emphasize that enough. So just keep claiming. Like I tell people, it's like the Dory song of just keep swimming, just keep claiming, just keep claiming. Okay. All right. So as part of a school employee review, Francis Online will send that questionnaire out to you to your online account. Make sure you complete this questionnaire within the period required. Again, Olga, because it was filled out before the time frame, this doesn't apply to you, because what can happen is if we do not receive that question, the reduction in force letter or the contract to agreement to return in the next period, if we don't receive that and Francis says that we didn't get it, sometimes Francis will issue an automated failure to provide letter, which we don't want to send out to you because basically that's going to deny the use of the wages until we get that information. So once we get it from you, we can redetermine your eligibility at that point in time. So no worries. It doesn't mean that you're denied benefits forever. It just means we can't allow benefits until we've confirmed whether or not you have reasonable assurance to return. So if you have the letter saying one way or the other what's happening and you've given us your job duties, give us all of that information up front. You're going to be good to go. And we don't have to worry about that. Okay.
Yeah, and just
All
quickly,
right.
we got a couple questions in the chat about not getting a letter. I would refer you back to your union or to your employer to get some kind of letter either stating you're coming back in the same capacity, you're coming back in a different capacity, or you are not coming back. Because they should be providing you with one of those, and that's not something we can help with. Amy, there we go. Come on,
Sorry.
Amy.
I'm trying to keep track of all these different things, and I'm trying to help Nico too because of the information he was denied during December for unemployment, and so that's why we said he might need to appeal.
Oh, yeah. If there was a denial for a time frame in December, that's a different case that you,
Yeah.
yes, appeal that, please,
Yes.
Nico. Please.
And
I
then
can second that.
So in January and February, everyone, by the end of May, you should have gotten something saying that you're, not that you're unassigned or assigned, but just that you're not laid off, that they have a position, especially for paraeducators. When your student that you've been working with, if you're in a middle school and they transition to high school, there might not be a position at that same school for you, but they will find you another position somewhere else. So you still have a job. You might be unassigned temporarily, but it's not a layoff. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and if you're a paraeducator, it's really important in paraeducator. I can't emphasize, thank you, Amy, so much. If you're a paraeducator, I can't emphasize enough. That's where those jobs are probably the most important ones to list your job duties because you're not even considered in this bucket of people that could potentially, even if you are returning in the fall, you're eligible for the use of your school wages during the summer because you're not considered the teacher. Paraeducators or teachers' assistants or people that work one-on-one with the students, you're not considered to work in that instructional capacity per se. So when you're filling out your questionnaire, the first question Francis is going to ask you is, were you instructing 50% or more of the time? Even if you were instructing that direct student, like you were helping them with their assignments, you were working one-on-one with that student, the answer to that question is still going to be no for you. And the reason I say that is because you weren't the actual teacher instructing the students. You didn't come up with the lesson plans. You weren't the ones dealing with all of that stuff. You weren't the actual teacher. And if you're not the actual teacher, if you're the paraeducator, you're considered a teacher assistant. And if you're considered a teacher assistant, you're protected under what's a different law, which is, again, it's our statutes of 657-211, which means that those are considered the non-professionals and the people that are not denied the use of school wages during the recess period. So don't hurt yourself by thinking, well, but I taught this student because I helped this student with all of their classwork and I helped this student do all this stuff. No, that's great. And that's awesome that that's how you spent your time, but you're not considered to be a teacher. And since you're not considered to be a teacher, you're somebody that we have no issue with. And we tell Francis, allow them the use of their school wages. And those are the cases that if you're a paraeducator, especially, I can't emphasize this enough. If you answered no to, I was not instructing, those are the cases we're trying to roll through as quick as we can and get payments out. So don't worry about that and just make sure you list in your job duties that you were assisting to a direct student and all that kind of stuff. And we'll make sure to get those benefits paid, even if there's a holdup because you're considered a school employee and you're in the bucket of people that's waiting for benefits. I promise, as long as you were in that category, you will get your benefits once we've gotten to your case. It's in the order in which they're received. So just be patient, keep claiming, and we'll get those benefits rolled out to you just as soon as we can.
So we want to make sure to touch on a few things real quick about unemployment. So there's a question asking if you are in a union. Can you speak to the union question real quick, Aaron?
Which union question? Remind me.
When are you in a union that
Oh,
sends
oh,
you work through a hiring hall or
yeah. So there's a question in the initial claim. Thank you, Teal. I totally forget about this one every time, and it definitely needs to come up here. If you're in a union, it's going to ask you about being in a closed union. You're not. You're not in a closed union. A closed union is one where it's like plumbers and people like contract construction workers like that, where they can only get work through their union hall, and they have to maintain contact with their union while they're out of work, and they can only get work through their union. If they violate that, they'll be kicked out of the union. So that doesn't apply to any of you. So when it asks you if you're in a closed union, just some people will say yes to that, and if you do, it'll mess with your claim, and then you're going to get a really weird denial letter in the mail that might come, or in through Francis, that might confuse you, because it'll say you're denied because you're not in a union, and you know that you are. But what it means is you're denied because you're not in a closed union, because someone like me reviews it and sees that you're not in a closed union. And it doesn't mean you're denied benefits. It means you still have to meet that actively seeking work requirement. That's essentially what it means. So just if when you see that question, if you haven't filled out your IC yet, or your initial claim yet, just make sure that you click no to the closed union, because you're not in one. That's very specific trades and stuff like that, that are considered closed union. I think the weirdest closed union I've seen is acting. Like, there's just certain ones that are out there that are like, no, you can't, you're not allowed to look for work outside of us. It's a breach of your contract with us for you to look for your own work.
And then just to touch on it, because it didn't come up organically, do any of these people need to report if they receive severance or if they
No.
get vacation paid out at the end? And
No,
they're
the only pay, thank you, that usually does come up. You're right. The only pay that you need to report is earnings from an employer that would be reported on a W-2, and would be reported through like the hours and earnings that you've made for that week. So like if um if you do some kind of weird under the table thing and go, like, or like okay, a perfect example. I just had a garage sale. I would not report that, right? Like, you don't need to report earnings of things that you got money from, and that includes a severance. That includes, another thing that didn't come up that usually does or sometimes comes up, is retirement pay. Retirement pay is not the same thing as Social Security. If you are receiving Social Security, or you're receiving Social Security disability, that is not considered income. And when it asks, will you receive or do you receive retirement pay? Social Security does not count for that, so please don't mark it. If you receive Social Security, or if you received not Social Security, if you do receive retirement pay, or you have some kind of retirement, as part of your layoff, you're taking your lump sum of your retirement. Yes, tell us about that, but that doesn't affect necessarily your benefit amount. It affects your potential of your benefit amount overall. That doesn't affect like whether or not you qualify for benefits. It just can impact how your benefits are paid, depending on how you received that lump sum, if you decided to withdraw your 401k when the layoff occurred. But that's a different question. If you receive retirement income, the retirement income has to be from a base year employer. So like, if they were not somebody you work for this year, if you're receiving retirement income from an employer you worked for, 3 or 4 years ago, answer no to that question. They are not considered in a retirement income that we need to know about. If you're receiving retirement income through your PERS or whatever for this employer, that you're being laid off from now, and you're going to collect on that retirement income during your claim at some point, let us know about that. that's another math situation that we'll look at individually, and an educator will be assigned for that. But other than that, if you're receiving Social Security or disability, that income doesn't count. You don't need to claim it each week, and it's only work that's performed during the week. If you received any payout of sick or anything like that for severance wise, aside from the severance packages, no, we don't need to, you don't need to tell us about that. If you got vacation pay from your part-time job and you received vacation pay for the week because you decided not to work that week and you took vacation time and used your PTO with them, you don't need to claim that PTO from your other employer either. It's only for work performed. Thank you for reminding me. I always forget about that one.
Yeah, yeah, you're good. So, um, I've got one more question and then we're going to move on. And ahead of that last question, I want to remind people a few things. Um, School district layoffs are happening statewide. Aaron has graciously noted a few times that they are being inundated with claims right now. So we do just want to make sure that you understand the entire state of Oregon is school districts are going through exactly what y'all are going through right now. So it's best to be on top of it. It's best to use all the resources we've been talking about today, and understand that it may take a bit of time, but they are actively working through claims. They've even trained up some extra people because they saw all the layoffs happening and knew they were going to get inundated. So we want to thank Erin and her team for all the work they're doing to push through claims of all the educators around the state. Secondly, I want to remind everybody there are documents in this chat. If you scroll all the way up and start going down, grab those documents because everything Erin went over, we've got in concise documents. I dropped a few different links in there as well. Grab those links. The Claimant Handbook is also available online, and that goes into a lot of detail. So please use everything we've been putting in this chat and make sure you grab it out before we close the session today. And then the last thing I wanted to remind you is you have an option. Your Zoom may look a little different than mine. On mine, it's at the top of the chat box. It's a little blue box with a pencil and note, and that's how you can direct message the presenters. So Erin's going to be on for the remainder of this. So these kind of questions that are more specific, you can go ahead and ask her if something pops up. Please use that method. And Amy reminded us also that the union can email all these docs out as well. I sent those to them already with some links, so that should be good. Okay, and Erin did just answer the last question.
Yeah. Just
Great.
if you already answered yes that you instruct, it's totally fine. We're going to review it, and honestly, probably the district answered us and said that you don't. So we'll probably confirm it that way, but just throw a message into Francis online because you already have an account, so that's quick enough to do. Just send us a message and say, hey, I went to the rapid response and found out that I'm not considered to have instructed, so I need to fix my answer to no, and that'll just speed us right along.
Thank you so much, Erin, for
course.
the incredibly thorough presentation. And
Always.
Thank you all for all your questions and engagement. We appreciate that. So Erin's going to mute, but still be there. So go ahead and use that direct message feature. You're so welcome. Thank you, everyone, for the kind words in the chat. And I'm going to go ahead and queue up Emily from WorkSource, and we will let you know that these last presentations are not 2 hours long. So bear with us. We're going to get through it in the next 10 to 15 minutes. And this is also important information you're going to need as you navigate your layoff and your return to work. Emily, go ahead and come on up and let's click through to the first WorkSource slide, please, Jason.
Yeah, you can go to the next slide. This is just an intro. So I'm with WorkSource, and you will need to create a WorkSource account as part of your unemployment claim. That was mentioned earlier, but there's been a lot of information since then. So we're just going to briefly go through what other services WorkSource could provide you in this process. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yep, so WorkSource is a state partner that provides services for all people that are 18 years and older and legal to work in the U.S. Please, next slide. So a few things that we do are helping you get started in a new career or advance in your current career. And also, we're here to support you during the job search. So if you're wanting to look for a new job and need some support, say with resume help or interviewing, we have classes and one-on-one assistance with those things. Next slide. So when you sign up for your WorkSource account, they'll have you come into the office to do an ID verification, or you can schedule a meeting online. If you schedule online, I'm told it takes longer, and since a lot of you are wanting to get your UI claim done really quickly, you might just want to come into the office at your closest WorkSource center. We have a slide that has the ones in the Portland metro area. Um, and and finish your welcome process. So you've already done the online registration for WorkSource, and then you'll come in and you'll have a conversation, and uh, they will also verify your identity. And then they'll also ask you, like, what kinds of work are you looking for? Are you interested in changing careers? And so we do have programs that can help support people in getting scholarships for trainings for certain kinds of work trainings, mostly in the fields of healthcare, manufacturing, construction, green energy, and early childhood education. So if you wanted to go back and get certification as a preschool teacher, that type of funding is available. And then we have career services to help with the things that I mentioned, like the job search process and business services you'll hear about in a little bit that connect people with employers. Next slide. Some of the WorkSource services that we provide are workshops, both in-person and virtual ones are available. If you're interested in those, ask your WorkSource person when you're in the office. And then all of the other things on the slide. And we also have computer labs available for any job seekers. You can just come in, use the computer anytime to help you look for jobs. And those can be a very helpful additional tool. Next slide. Some of the workshops that we provide are all of the things here on the screen. And we even have ones also on how to network with networking with people. But a lot of them are related to how to set yourself up for a successful job search. And how to figure out what direction you want to go, what tools are available to you, and how to ace that interview and get on your way. Next slide. Anytime that you engage with WorkSource, the nice thing is you can report it to UI as a work search activity. So any workshops or conversations that you have with WorkSource staff qualify. And all of our services are completely free. Next slide. These are the locations around your area. So if you're in Portland, we have a office. I'm at the Northeast office. There's also an office in Southeast, one over in Gresham area. And then there's two offices out on the west side in both Beaverton, Hillsborough, and the Tigard area. So find the one that's closest to you. And if you live in Washington, they have WorkSource offices as well. Next slide. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. I have no hands raised and I don't have anything in the chat, so we will go ahead and queue Russell up to continue with the discussion of WorkSource and more advantageous resources available to you. Thank you, Russell.
Hello, everybody. Hope I'm coming through all right. My name is Russell, as Teal just said. I'm a job listing writer. I currently work in the Tigard office, and I am here to talk with you about two great resources for job seekers, which are imatchskills.org and qualityinfo.org. And I just sent the names of those websites into the chat, so if you need to reference them, you can take a look there. So starting with imatchskills.org, imatchskills.org is an excellent resource. It is free to use, and you do not need to be signed up for unemployment in order to access it. This is available to everybody. It is the largest job database in the state of Oregon, which puts you at a really good advantage just for finding positions. And additionally, all the employers who post job listings on there, they are verified. It is part of my job is to make sure that they are who they say they are, so we're not getting just random listings from people claiming to be, say, Apple when they're not actually Apple. Um, and additionally, we go through and we review listings to make sure that they're still in active status and they're still being recruited for, and just that they're up to date. And we ensure that they are legally compliant and clear and have specific requirements for every position. For your specific purposes, I can confirm that some of the uh, groups that use our service include school districts. I have seen multiple school districts post job listings on iMatch Skills, and I've helped them to do so. And even in the private sector, there are, companies focusing in the educational field, in things like tutoring, sometimes summer camps. So there's lots of great businesses like that that you can take a look at, that you can seek out on iMatch Skills. And then the other website, qualityinfo.org. That is a great resource for keeping track of current trends in the labor market in the state of Oregon, and all of the information on qualityinfo.org comes from the state of Oregon directly. So it's great for keeping track of, fluctuations in the employment rates, getting an idea of what jobs are kind of the most sought after in the current labor market, and what a kind of good salary range is for certain positions. So if you're reentering the labor market, Quality Info and iMatch Skills are a great place to start. I understand I've had to look for new jobs several times myself, and it can be really overwhelming, and it can feel like, where am I even supposed to start? And iMatch Skills and qualityinfo.org are, in my opinion, the best resources you can use.
Awesome. Thank you, Russell. And like Russell was saying, Russell and his team are employer facing, so they are up to date on current jobs coming down the pipe. Having your iMatch skills profile up to date and ready to go will be the tool that they use to match employers to you, or you to an employer posting a position. So WorkSource really just has a total package when it comes to helping you, no matter where you are in the process of your new job search. So thank you, Russell. Let's see, Israel, you want to come up, and then we'll get the healthcare slides queued up.
All right, I'm here. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you guys about the options for your insurance. So if you're on employer coverage, and losing that coverage as a result of losing your employer sponsored coverage, we're going to talk to you about the other options available. So here on the left, you have all the different public programs that are available. And on the right, you have private health insurance, which, even though it says private, there is still potential for financial assistance, specifically through my program, the Marketplace. But we'll touch on everything on here, because we realize that when it comes to health coverage, it's not one size fits all. A lot of you are going to fall into these different situations. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, we got the Consolidated Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act, COBRA. COBRA, for those of you that are on coverage right now, it's going to be the first thing that's typically offered to you. And all that is a continuation of the existing benefits that you have. So whatever coverage you have, so whatever company it's with, cost for services, monthly cost for that coverage, it's all going to be the same with these changes. you will be responsible for the full cost of the COBRA coverage. That means there's not going to be an employer contribution. And without an employer contribution, it can be pretty spendy. So it's going to be the full cost plus a 2.5% administrative fee. So you'll be paying the full cost on that. But as I said, same providers, same out-of-pocket cost for your services. Uh, if you've already met your deductible, that would continue on as well. And then you can stay on Cobra for up to 18 or 36 months, depending on your particular situation. We mentioned this. It's kind of a dinosaur from back before the Affordable Care Act, where it was really important that you never lost your coverage. So Cobra was a way to make sure you didn't lose your employer coverage while you went to find a new employer. So it is available for you. There are some situations where this might be a good idea for you, but we found that the majority of time when you have to pay the full cost yourself without that employer contribution, it can be pretty expensive. But we mention it for you because it is the an option for you. It's gonna be the first one that's mentioned. If you decide that you want to go with the Cobra, you'll have up to 60 days from your last day of employer coverage to decide whether you want it. And no matter when you make that decision during that 60-day window, once you've signed that paperwork, if it's within that 60-day window, the coverage is always going to be retroactive back to your last day of employer coverage. So there's never a gap between when your regular coverage ends and your COBRA coverage begins. So that's one of the nice things about it. Let's go next slide. Other option that you're going to have is private health insurance. So you have two different ways you can go about that. You can either go directly to the insurance company itself, or you can enroll through the marketplace. Keep in mind that the marketplace is the only option that will give you the potential for financial assistance. Now, normally you'd only be able to enroll into these companies during what's called open enrollment, which is typically November 1st through January 15th. But outside that window, if you have what's called a qualifying life event, you can shop even though it's not open enrollment. And one of those qualifying life events is losing your other coverage. So if you're losing your employer coverage, that will give you an option to shop through the marketplace. You'll have 60 days to decide whether you want to do that. So it's the same time frame as the COBRA coverage. The biggest difference, though, is when you enroll through the marketplace or private coverage affects when your coverage starts. So the later you do that enrollment, the later your coverage will start. If you want to make sure there is not going to be a gap, you'll actually want to take action before your coverage ends. So let's say from some other school district I've been working with, the coverage is good through August 31st, and you want to make sure there's no gap in coverage. You need to do your application and make your plan selection for either private coverage or the marketplace before August 31st. So as long as you get that in to healthcare.gov or the insurance company before the current coverages run out, there will not be a gap in coverage. But if it's already run out and then you turn it in, the earlier you turn it in, the earlier your coverage will start. Typically, it's going to be the first of the next month. So if I get my paperwork in on September 15th, I'm going to get an October 1st start date, and so on. Let's go next slide. I think we'll talk about some of the financial assistance that's available, if I remember correctly. So with the marketplace, there is potential for help paying for this. So you don't get this if you go directly to the insurance company. If you want to see if you qualify for financial assistance, you'll have to do that through healthcare.gov. And there's two forms of financial assistance available. The first is what's called an advanced premium tax credit, which is just a fancy way of saying the government helps you pay your monthly bill. So you do your application, they say you qualify for a certain amount, let's say $300 a month. Then when you go onto healthcare.gov to buy a plan, you can lower the cost of whatever plan you choose by up to $300. And that's available to any plan available on the marketplace. So it just lowers the monthly cost that you pay for that coverage. The other form of financial assistance is something called a cost sharing reduction. What that does is it makes it more affordable to actually use your insurance. So even when you have health coverage, you still have to make a copayment most of the time when you use your services. Like it's $20 to go see my primary care physician. It's $15 for this particular prescription. If you qualify for the cost sharing reductions, it lowers the out-of-pocket cost when you actually use your insurance. So when I go to the doctor, instead of paying $20, I might pay $5. When I pick up that $15 prescription, I might pay $3. Anytime you are paying for anything other than the monthly payment, it lowers the amount by anywhere from 72 to about 92%, depending on the level of help that you're getting. It affects your copays, it affects your co-insurance, it lowers your deductibles, and it lowers something called your max out of pocket, which for those of you that aren't familiar, when you have health insurance, whenever you use that insurance, the insurance company is keeping track of how much you spend out of pocket for your services. And once you spend an amount equal to your max out of pocket, you no longer have any out of pocket costs for covered services that are used in network for the rest of that calendar year. So, for example, for most adults and most plans, the max out of pocket's about $9,000. So, once you've spent an amount equal to $9,000, and the rest of it is basically free for the rest of the year. But with the cost sharing reductions, it lowers that max out of pocket as well. So, if you get the maximum level of help with the cost sharing reductions, you can have that max out of pocket go to as low as $1,000, which if you are in a house with somebody with a chronic condition or a high utilizer of services, you'll reach that cap very early in the year. And then once you've reached that cap, you're no longer paying for your prescriptions, you're no longer paying for your doctor visits. As long as you're going in network, it's no more cost for that service. And you're also getting help paying for that service. Looks like somebody has a question.
Hey, Israel, I got one in the chat for you. So the question states, my wife works at a private school in Portland and receives health insurance through her employer. Since I'm losing my own coverage, will I be able to enroll on her insurance plan?
That should give you, similar to what we call a qualifying life event for the marketplace, should give you a qualifying life event to enroll into their private coverage. So you'll just want to report that to the employer, and then they should be able to accommodate that. And that should be for anyone who has whose spouses have coverage, and the reason you weren't on it is because you had your own coverage. This should trigger an opportunity for you to get onto their coverage.
And Israel, would you recommend somebody just have that letter saying they're not returning to work or something, or they just how is that? I
What
actually
they'll
haven't had this question before, and it's a great
what they'll
question.
want is the letter that says your coverage is going to be ending on August 31st or September 30th, whatever date it is. Because whichever route they go, whether it's their spouse's coverage, whether it's the marketplace, they're going to want a copy of that to prove that you do indeed get this opportunity to shop right now.
That makes sense. Okay, because they're going to have a notification from their healthcare saying your coverage is ending on this date. So that's actually what they need.
Typically, they're going to get that at the same time they get that notification about Cobra.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. So let's go to the next slide. Other options available, we have the Oregon Health Plan, which is the state's version of Medicaid. Some nice things about the Oregon Health Plan is that if you qualify, there is no monthly premium and you pay no cost for covered services. The thing is, in order to qualify, though, your income has to be on the lower side. So, in order to qualify for a single adult for basic Oregon Health Plan, you have to be under 138% of the federal poverty level, which is about, for a single adult, is about $1,800 a month. So even on unemployment, you may make too much for the basic Oregon Health Plan. But I do want to advise that there is a higher income limit available for children, which is almost 3 times that amount. So what I always like to mention is you may not qualify for OHP directly, you or your spouse, but if you can get your kids on it, there's no cost for that coverage. You got that peace of mind and knowing that they have that coverage. And because you're not paying for that coverage, any savings you get from that, you can use towards your own coverage if you decide to go that route. And typically, if the kids qualify for OHP, the adults would qualify either for one of the other programs we're going to talk about, the OHP Bridge or the Marketplace for financial assistance. So can you speak to the question about healthcare notification of termination of employer-sponsored coverage?
I tagged the union rep on that one because that's gonna the
Yeah, that's
union
going to
should
come from
know.
them.
That's gonna be from their contract and everything. Yeah, yeah. So I tagged Amy.
Okay. Another thing to remember about the Oregon Health Plan is that like with Cobra, unlike the Marketplace where you have these windows where you can enroll, because Oregon Health Plan is a need-based program, you can apply for it at any time. So if you apply and your income says you qualify, you get it regardless of the time of the year. So key things to remember: no cost for the coverage, no cost for the services. Your income has to be below a certain level in order to qualify, but there is expanded eligibility for children, and you can apply for it at any time of the year. Let's go next slide. Okay, now we have the OHP Bridge program, which, as the name says, it's kind of a bridge between the regular OHP and the marketplace. So it is the next step up above OHP, but below that marketplace level. So if you're just above the OHP limits, you can get this program that functions kind of like as a hybrid of OHP and the marketplace. So just like OHP, there's no cost associated with this coverage. For this, your income has to be between 138% to 200% of the federal poverty level. Uh, and just like OHP, you can apply at any time. Uh, so just keep this in mind as one of the options available. Typically, what will happen is if you do an OHP application, it will check for whether you qualify for OHP, and it will check to see if you qualify for the bridge program as well. So first, it'll try and get you the OHP coverage. If you don't qualify for that, then it'll check against bridge. If you don't qualify for that, then we're going to check against the marketplace coverage. So apply at any time. Functions very similarly to OHP in that there's no monthly cost or cost for services, but your income does have to be in a certain income range in order to qualify. Let's go next slide. Finally, for those of you that are 65 and older or getting close to 65, there is the option for Medicare. Medicare is a federal program that provides coverage for people that are over 65 or are under 65 but have been on disability for at least 24 consecutive months. The main thing I want you to understand about Medicare is it's very complicated because it doesn't function like any other coverage. It doesn't function like OHP, doesn't function like the coverage you had right now or the marketplace coverage. It's broken down to these different parts, and these different parts cover different things. You got your Part A, which is if you're hospitalized and only if you're hospitalized. Part B as in boy handles like your doctor visits, your medical equipment, your examinations, but there is no prescription coverage built into either of those services. So if you want prescription coverage, you can add on a separate prescription plan to those services, and that the prescription plans are called Part D plans. Or if you want, you can try and bundle all these services together into what's called a Medicare Part C or a Medicare Advantage plan, where a private company administers these benefits for you. So you get your A, B, and potentially D through them. Or you can stick with the original versions that's not with a private company, but add on a supplemental insurance or what's called a Medigap policy that picks up the cost when you go to the doctor and when you have an out-of-pocket cost left. Uh, and for those Medigap plans, there's about 150 available in the state of Oregon. And there are a lot of points where you can make an error with Medicare. And the key thing to remember is that if you make a mistake when it's time for you to enroll in Medicare, you pay a financial penalty for the rest of your life. So we don't want that to happen. So if you need help with Medicare, if you need to know what's the proper process for this, am I going to make a mistake? Am I be penalized for this? Please get the help for that available. And we're going to talk about where you can get that help available. But just like with the other things, if you're over 65, did not enroll in Medicare because you were still working, still had employer coverage, losing that coverage will give you an opportunity to enroll into Medicare if that's what you plan to do. And you'll probably want to talk with somebody about like, is this what I should do right now? And we'll tell you, we'll give you some information about who you can talk to about that. So let's go to the next couple of slides where we talk about how you can get some help with your Medicare. So Medicare, there are ways to get help paying for it because there are some costs associated for it. But if your income is low enough, you could qualify for either the Medicare Savings Program, where it can potentially help you pay for your monthly premium and potentially pay for your out-of-pocket cost. There also is what's called an LIS, limited income subsidy, sometimes referred to as extra help, and that specifically helps you pay for your prescription coverage, whether it's the standalone plan or if it's part of your Medicare Advantage plan. And if you need help applying for either of those, please reach out to the number here, Aging and Disability Resource Center of Oregon. They can help you with that application process for those services. Let's go next slide. And here's that help I was talking about. So there's another state agency like my own called Sheba. Big difference between us is that their focus is 100% Medicare. So any questions you have about Medicare, am I going to get a penalty if I do this? Hey, I need help picking out a plan. what's the difference between Part A and Part B? They can answer these questions, and as a state agency, they're gonna they don't have any skin in the game. They're not trying to push you towards a particular company or a particular service. Because you will see when you're home all day, you will see commercials all day about, oh, call us to get your Medicare paid for, or call us to do this, get in touch with us for this with your Medicare. Those are all companies trying to sell you something, specifically their product. Uh, so if you want to avoid that, if you want to get that not impartial information, that would be the Sheba unit. They can answer those questions and they'd be happy to help you out. So on this slide, we have that first link there is our window shopping tool. So what will happen? Let's say you don't know what to do, where to start. Should I do an OHP application first? Should I start with the marketplace? If you go to that window shopping link there, you can enter some basic information about your household, how many people are in the household, how old they are, general estimate of your yearly income, and it will give you a breakdown of what you're likely to qualify for. So it'll say, oh, the children in the household look like they would qualify for OHP. The adults look like they qualify for the marketplace with this much tax credit. And then you'll have the option of, okay, I want to do an application for OHP, or I want to do an application for the marketplace. It'll take you to where you need to go for that assistance. Um, and when you are doing when you are entering that information there, or whenever you do an actual application for help for any of the government programs, please make sure that you're using the most accurate information at that time. Don't put, oh, I'm making this much when that income is ending. Use what you're going to be making from unemployment. So make sure that you're maximizing the benefits that you receive. Use the information that's at that time, not what you were making, but what you are making as of right now, and use that for either the monthly estimate or your yearly estimate. And finally, if you need help with any of these programs, you go to our website, that bottom link there where it says get help. You can enter your zip code and then what it is you're looking for help with. So I need somebody to help me with the Oregon Health Plan application. You put OHP Assister. I need somebody to help me with the marketplace. You pick a marketplace assister and you enter your zip code and it'll show you everyone in your local area that helps with those particular programs. So you can talk to somebody face to face, or you can give them a phone call, whatever works best for you. And I will say as well that the only thing that's specific to you guys as dislocated workers is the COBRA coverage. The other services I'm mentioning, the marketplace, the Oregon Health Plan, the Bridge program, and the Sheba assistance, those are available to any Oregonian. So even if this information isn't useful for you, maybe you have one of your kids is turning 26 and they need to get on their own coverage, you can point them to this website to get help themselves, to get that enrollment. Or your parent or grandparents having issues with their Medicare, they're confused by what's going on. Put them in touch with Sheba, and Sheba will help them out. It's available to these services are available to any Oregonians. And with that, please feel free to reach out to us directly if you ever have questions. If you don't know where to start, always feel free to reach out to me, give us a call, or use that email there. Let's see. Okay, I don't know who you would talk to about getting another copy of that. Um, but depending on so July 31st.
That's what the union told us when we met with them a few weeks ago, is that workers had coverage through July 31st. Amy, if you want to unmute and clarify if that has evolved, since I know these things can change and
I
update.
believe what I understand is that when you, so I know if you like stop working for the district in June and they pay out all your pay, they will hold out 3 months of insurance so that you're covered through September. I am not entirely sure if that's what they're going to do with people who are laid off. I would hope so. So I will look into that.
Okay, and Amy, does everyone here have a way to contact you or another rep? If not, would you want to drop that in the chat so people could grab that out?
I will drop it in the chat right now.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Israel, so much. I think we covered all the questions that you would be able to cover. And yeah, with that, thank you, Amy. There we go. With that, I will just conclude us here by thanking the presenters for all this amazing information. We also want to acknowledge that we understand this is a stressful, overwhelming time in life, losing your job, and we hope today helped provide some clarity, remove some barriers, and alleviate a little bit of stress around the layoff, what's next, how to navigate unemployment and healthcare, and how to connect to WorkSource. So, with that, I always like to remind the group that you have 211 available as another community-based resource that you can call, go on their website, you can download their app, but 211 collects resources locally, and you don't need a qualifying event to reach out to them. You can at any time, and they've got information about food support. They can help if there's information you need about, childcare resources or filing taxes or all sorts of low cost or no cost, information resources that you might need. They're just a great resource to use. So we always like to plug 211. And then my organization, Labor's Community Service Agency, we are in the Portland metro area, but we serve all of Oregon and Southwest Washington, the unions. So we have hardship assistance programs. We do this program right here, layoff assistance. And I put my information earlier in the chat, but I'll put it one more time. My email is coming to y'all right now, but if you need assistance after this, if your claim gets held up or, there's some healthcare situation you can't navigate and you just need a little extra support, that's my email I just threw into the chat. You are welcome to reach out to me at any time. I want to thank Amy for contacting us, alerting us about the layoff, letting us know what was happening so that we could put this together for y'all. And we have already sent Amy all the documents, so hopefully those get blasted out to y'all. And additionally, once we have this uploaded to our YouTube channel, we should be able to get that to Amy to blast out as well so people can reference this whole presentation after the fact. For anyone who wasn't able to stay on the whole time or wasn't able to be here at all, they'll be able to access it. We have a question. I would probably check in with your union rep on that question. So Amy,
They should contact HR at PPS and have them mail them. And they should have had an actual physical letter emailed to their house because I know my daughter got one also.
Okay. So there should have come one in snail mail and there was a digital one as well.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, then that should be something they have on file that they could be able to resend you because you definitely need that for your profile, for your Francis. Like Erin thoroughly described, the more information they have to push through your claim, the better. And then also for navigating your healthcare, that one should mention that your healthcare coverage is ending. So that's what you'll need when your wife goes to her employer to say, hey, we have a qualifying event, I need to add my spouse. So with that, I would like to humbly thank everyone and the presenters for their time today. We can go ahead and end recording, Jason. And I guess, Erin, I just want to check in with you, make sure I'm not going to cut anybody off if I end this session and close our Zoom. Are you all good?
I'm not sure if Nico still wanted to chat or if you've got that figured out, Nico, but